Today is Rosh Chodesh Sivan, Hatafshin Ayin. This is Shir Klali with Rabbi Gaffney, Parshas Bamidbar.
So what's with the little microphone? Is somebody going to take that back tomorrow?
Yes. It's right. It's here. It's all in the packaging, the original packaging.
Alright, so we start off with the first pasuk at the beginning of the Parasha Bamidbar. So it's written by Yadava Hashem El Moshe Bamidbar Sinai. V'yoyel moyed v'echad l'chodesh hasheni v'shana hashenis v'teisom me'eretz Mitzrayim leimer. The Eibishter spoke to Moshe in the desert of Sinai, in the Oyel Moed, in the Mishkan, Ve'echad l'chodesh hasheni, on Rosh Chodesh Iyar, V'shana hashenis, in the second year, l'teisom me'eretz Mitzrayim. In the second year after they'd gone out from Mitzrayim, and he told Moshe Rabbeinu, Si'u es Rosh Kol Adas B'nai Yisrael Mishpacheisom Veisav. You must literally elevate the heads of all the Adas B'nai Yisrael, Mishpacheisom, according to their families, Veisav to the leaders of their families, V'mishpar Shemesh Kol Zachor L'Gugel Otzam. And you shouldn't count the people, but you should count only the names. Each male, according to their heads, literally a head count. And Rashi says that the reason you can't count them straight, because Cholila, if you count Yidden or you count people, then Cholila there can be Matil, Inif Nega, or Chas V'Shorim Inyonim. Bilti Ratsuyim, not good things. The eighth is to count the people. And the Google Isom, Rashi is referring to the union of Shkalim, or Chetzi Shkale, the union from Chetzi, Machsa Shekel, that each person had to give. So the counting was done by counting some other inyan, but it was done by counting the shkalim. So it's one on the famous diuk that if, and the Alter Rebbe brings it in Lakotei Torah, that if the kavanah was to count people, then just say count the Jewish people. It could have been written a word saying tispor or l'shein ka'elu. Why is it written siu es roish? So why don't you have a chumash?
We're sharing this enough.
Siu es Rosh Chodesh B'nai Yisrael. So it means literally to elevate the head. That's what it means. And sometimes we find in Lashinas in different places in Scripture that the word siu as a resh, to lift up the head, can even be not a particularly pleasant statement. Like we find when I get to Yosef, when he interpreted the dreams of the two sorry ministers of Paro, and he said that one of them would Rahman Islam be not particularly pleasantly treated by Paro, then it was used that expression that he will elevate your head. So obviously there must be some very special reason why we say Su'u is Reish Kol Adas B'nai Yisrael. Now, similarly, towards the end of Sefer Shmois, where it's written a similar inyan, and that was another counting. The Yidden also, it's Ki Siso is Reish B'nai Yisrael. When you will lift up the head of all the Jewish people, also the same question. Why do we say to lift up the heads? Why don't we just say to count them? And also the fact that this was done Davke Bamidbar Sinai. So the Alter Rebbe in Lakotei Torah says that this parsha Bamidbar is always read before Chag HaShavuos. Even in a Shnas Ha'ibur, it comes out according to the arrangement of the calendar and the parsha is that prior to Chag HaShavuos, we always read this parsha Bamidbar. So that tends to indicate that the parsha Bamidbar has got an essential kesher with the union of Matan Torah, with the union of Chag HaShavuos. But even though, as the Alter Rebbe brings in Shulchan Aruch, the union from Chag HaShavuos and the celebration of Matan Torah are two different inyanim. It just so happens that when we celebrate Chag HaShavuos, it happens to come out on the date that was the union of Matan Torah, the way we do it nowadays. But in the time of the Beis Hamikdash, when they used to count the months according to the Eidos, the witnesses of the people who saw the moon, then it didn't necessarily have to come out on the 6th of Sivan. Chag HaShavuos could have come out on other days, and not necessarily been in the day which was the celebration of the giving of Matan Torah, which was on the 6th day of Sivan, at that time when they went out of Mitzrayim. However, it follows that the union of Parsha Bamidbar must have a special kesher with the whole union of Chag HaShavuos, and particularly with the fact that we keep Chag HaShavuos in connection with Matan Torah B'Har Sinai. So therefore it follows that the commandment of Bamidbar Sinai was to elevate their heads. So it's mavur in many places in Chassidus that the concept of elevating the head means to elevate the will. That we see that the main head which governs a person is his will. And as the old saying has it, if you want, you can do anything. Or as it's written in Rosh Chodesh, Ein lecha dover ha'omed b'fnei ha'rotzen. Nothing stands in the way of the will. In other words, that if you really want it, in the famous story, the Bala told this after he'd been to see the Baal Shem Tov, that he stopped by a goy in the street, that he couldn't move his cart out of the quicksand. And the Turles walked past together with some of his Talmidim, and the goy called to them and asked them to help him pull the cart out of the quicksand. So they weren't very anxious to do that because they would have got all dirty and who knows what, and they were in a hurry to daven mincha. So the Turles said to him, we can't do that. That's not we're not able to. So the goy said to him, it's not that you're not able to, it's just that you don't want. So when the Baal Shem Tov, when the Turles heard that, then he saw that a tremendous instruction had been sent to them from heaven, that there's no such thing that you can't, it's only that you don't want. And where there's a rotzen, then the mensch is unlimited. So to elevate, so the head is B'chlal the Rotzen. Rosh. That's the leader and the head of everything. However, there are two types of rotzen. There's one rotzen that nonetheless comes into your seichel, and it has some ability to be rationalized, and you can explain to somebody why you want it. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that is the emes, the reason why you want it, but at least you could put it into a rationality, and you could be masbeh somebody why you want it. That means that the rotzen allows itself to be mislavish in seichel. However, there's what's called a rotzen poshut, or a rotzen achmi, a rotzen echad in a yid. What that is a rotzen l'mailami tamva, and beyond seichel altogether, and that is the union of Mesiras Nefesh and devotion to Yiddishkeit beyond the normal determinations of rotzen, and that on the contrary, that's a rotzen which controls all the other Ratzonos and is not governable by Seichel at all, nor that is the etzem, is kashrus, atzmius of a Yiddish neshama, and a Yid in Kodesh Baruch in Elokut. So the Alter Rebbe says in Lechutei Torah that Siyu Es Reish means that you got to take the Rotzen and elevate the Rotzen into the Rotzen Pashut, into the Emes Rotzen Echad, which knows only of the Eibishter and of no Hagbolah. And that's what Moshe Rabbeinu was told, and only Moshe Rabbeinu can do that. He can elevate the head. In other words, what's the way to find your iskashis with your etzam and neshama is to listen to Moshe Rabbeinu and to be shy to Moshe Rabbeinu, and to have a shaychus with him, and a kesher, and alidei zeh Moshe Rabbeinu elevates your head, he elevates your rotzen into your emissar rotzen. That's the way it's written briefly in Lechutei Torah. So from that we see that since he writes over the Alter Rebbe, this is always read for Matan Torah, it's a sign that the union of elevating your head, your rotzen, into a rotzen which is completely beyond teichel and reasoning, beyond limitation altogether, well, that's a preparation for Shavuos and for Matan Torah. So the other night I saw on the computer that some person, he always had good intentions, most pure intentions. He sent a huge series of instructions for what he said was preparations for Matan Torah. Huge, about 5 pages of all sorts of different preparations that you should make for Matan Torah. So I thought to myself, what's a mensch kind of be able to manage all of these preparations, Halavai would prepare himself minimally, just in one union and be ready for Matan Torah, the way it should be. So therefore, it seems to me that that's what the Alter Rebbe tells us over there in the Lechutei Torah. That's the Ikar. The Ikar is you got to elevate your head. You got to take your head and put it in the unlimited and right place, through being Makusha with Moshe Rabbeinu. As a matter of fact, I don't really think you need to be told much more. So if I was concerned that I would disappoint people by saying that's the whole shir, then I would probably back out of here quickly. But since I'm naive enough to assume that people really would like to hear a bit more in the class, so I'm going to do so. But with the hope that I was not mistaken in that. Also funny, come to us. That's a preparation. Is an aliyah into the rotzen l'mayla legamre from the Inan Aseichel. So it's well known that we find in the Gemara Masechta Shabbos. I said it would be an idea to bring in Masechta Shabbos. I don't know if anybody did, but anyway, is we have in the 9th Perek of Masechta Shabbos on Omud Pei Ches, we have a very famous statement in the Gemara, and dealt with in many drushim of the Rabbeim all through all the generations, including the Rebbe Melech Moshiach, and in many Sforim we deal with this particular piece of Gemara. So it's about 2/3 of the way down the page on Omid Peiches. Dorash Rabbi Simoi, now that means an Amoira. Rabbi Simoi was an Amoira. He was Deirish, the Bashar Sheikdimu Yisrael Naaseh L'Nishma. At the moment that the Yidden said Naaseh before Nishma, Hikdimu means to precede, to put one thing before the other. So at that moment that Yidden did that, Yordu, or Bo rather, not Yordu, no Bo, Shishim Ribui Shel Malachi HaShoret. L'chol echad ve'echad mitzvah. There came 600,000 serving angels, and there was one angel for each person, because there were 600,000 males, as is well known at the time of Matan Torah. It was actually a little bit more, but That's the general number. Yeah, the kol echad v'echad miYisrael. Koshru loi shnei kesorim. What did they do? They put on his head, and they literally bound onto his head 2 crowns. Crowns. Echad keneged naaseh. One, for the sake of naaseh. 1 crown was for the sake of them having said naaseh. But echad keneged nishma. And 1 was for having said nishma. The Chaven shechatu Yisrael, aber once Yidden Rachmanin Islam, made the sin of their ego, chotu Yisrael, they made the cheta ego. Yodu meir ve'esrim ribui malachi chabola Rachmanin Islam. They came down double the number, 120,000 of unpleasant angels. Malachi chabola, that means angels that do damage. Upirukum, and they took them all, the crowns, they took them, and instead of binding them on their heads, they took them all. But here we have that each angel took only 1 crown, which means that by each person, one had a visit from 2 angels here. 1 angel took 1 crown, another angel took the other crown. And they took them away, and it's brought down later in the Gemara that Moshe Rabbeinu got them. They gave them all away to Moshe Rabbeinu, and for that reason, once he took all those crowns, that's why his face shone. That's a very fascinating thing. That's what both Rashi and Tosfos bring, that Moshe Rabbeinu's face shone with this amazing Karni Hui that he had when he came down finally after the Meluchas Shniyos. His face was lighting. That was from the fact that he'd got all these crowns from all the Yidden, and there was so much light in him, these crowns, that he shone. Anyway, they took them off from the people. Shenema vayisnatzlu b'nei Yisrael es ediom. Aid or Aida in Rosh Chodesh means like a beautiful ornament thing, an ornamental thing. Ediom mehar choyrei, from the mountain of Choyrei. In other words, that these crowns were given to them in the mountain of Choyrei, and now they lost them. Choyrei meaning Sinai. Choyrei is a word meaning Sinai, and now they took them off. Yisnatzlu, that they had to sort of say bye-bye to them, or apologize for them, or give them away. Omer Reb Chama bar Chanina b'choyrev ta'anu and b'choyrev piruku. He says that they put them on their heads in Choyrev. That was the Matan Torah, was Mount Sinai, Har Sinai, and he said the Eibush also took them off on Mount Sinai, which is Choyrev. In other words, at the same place where they put them on, that's where they had them taken off. So here we see that at the moment when the Yidden were Maktim, they made first Naisa and afterwards Nishma. How do we know that? Because in Pasha Mishpatim, in Sefer Shmois, towards the end, it's described again certain aspects of Matan Torah, and it's written there that before Moshe Rabbeinu actually went on to the Har, he made with them a bris, a whole union of bris, in reference to Matan Torah, and they said to Moshe Rabbeinu, first of all, they said everything that Hashem says we will do, Na'aseh, and then on a further pasuk, they double up and they say everything Hashem said we will do and we will hear, Na'aseh v'nishma. It's like, first of all, they said only Na'aseh, and then when it actually came to the actual making of the bris, they said Na'aseh v'nishma. So we see that the word Na'aseh means we will do, and the word Nishma means we will hear. In a more exact way, it means to hear in an understanding way. You'll hear and you'll understand. So here we see that they put Na'aseh before Nishma. So obviously, Rebbe Simoy thinks that that's the most amazing thing that they did. And later on, the Gemara text says that there was a guy that said to Rova that you guys are crazy, that you put your mouths before your ears. Usually you have to first of all hear what's going on, and then you say what you're going to do. Or to say that you're going to do everything, then say, oh yeah, maybe you'll tell me what I'm supposed to be doing. But that is, later on, the Gemara said, a guy says to Rava that you guys are an Amma Paziza. How do you call it? You're too hasty people. You don't make a careful cheshbon what is happening with you. So it seems that to be makdim, nicer, lenishma, is a very great thing. You have to put nicer before. So that would seem that was the great thing that he's coming to tell us. Yeah, and that's why the Malach HaShodesh came down. However, if you look carefully at the following up of the Lashon, it says that they came down all the Malach HaShodesh, and what did they do? They gave one crown for Nizer, one crown for Nishma. So the Yidden got the crowns for having said Nizer and having said Nishma. But not because they put Nizer before Nishma. For that they didn't get anything. And that is the whole greatness. He said, be sure at that moment that the Yidden put Nizer before Nishma. Oh, that's when all the Malach HaShodesh got moving. Oh, when they came down, they didn't give anything for the Hakdom and Nizer. They gave one for Nizer and one for Nishma. But that would tend to indicate that the two crowns are somewhat similar. What happened to the Hakdim and Nizer Lam? Yeah, Nishma. What happened to that? And then, what's the soul in it? That when one take them off now, after Rachman and Islam, the Cheta Ego came down double the amount of the 120,000, until Hadikotesis asked the Kashia, do we have a cloud that always the good midah is already much more than the bad midah? When everything bad happens, that's always less. And a good midah is always much, much more. And here we see by the bad, they took them 120,000 at the Malachim. By the good, they only sent 60,000 Malachim. 600,000, I'm sorry. 600,000 Malachim. So it's not 120,000, it's 100,000, 200,000 or something.
1,200,000.
So anyway, this comes out of his
1,200,000.
Whatever. So Kupta is that it's a lot more in the punishment than the good. So he says, oh no, it's not. If you look carefully, each malach that came down at the beginning was carrying two crowns. He said, but after they had sinned, then only one malach came down and took one crown. In other words, that each person was visited by two malachim, but they only took one crown. But in the first case, it was that each malach had himself two crowns, which means that each giving was two, it was double. The taking was only one taking for each malach. And if it was a taste, that means that the midah teva was better than the midas per anim. However, suffice it to say that we see that once they lost the crowns, then what happened to them? The Gemara says Moshe Rabbeinu got them. Moshe Rabbeinu took them all away, and then the Gemara says that the Yosid Lovei, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Osid Lahachziron. Abraham is going to give them back. Shenema Upeduya Hashem Yeshuvan Ubo Tzion Barina V'Shimchas Olam Al Roishon. This is a quote that the Rebbe quotes on many occasions. They're going to have simchas, everlasting joy on their heads. Why do you have joy on your head? I mean, you have joy in your heart, or you experience joy, or you are joyful. What was joy on your head? Yeah, so that's going to be the simcha of having got back the crown. Sure. So ask yourself the question: why didn't they get something special for Thomas Nice Nishma? Particularly, that's the whole yichus. They should get a special crown. Who knows? A crown should be crowns for having been makdim Nizel Nishma. Afterwards, they would get two more, what you might call minor crowns. One connected Nizel, one connected Nishma, because that's individually Nizel and individually Nishma. Over the Hakdoma, nothing seemed to happen with the Hakdoma. So the emphasis is that there's a Medrash Rabbah in Eicho Rabbah, but that's the Sefer Eicho is well known. That's the Lamentations for the destruction by Yirmiyahu and Novi for the destruction of the first Beis Hamikdash. But that's read Shem Mishmarino. Should never be any more on Tisha B'Av. It's over there's a Medrash, where it's written, the Rabbi Yochanan, which one he was an Amoraim in Eretz Yisrael, Rabbi Yochanan. He was the leader of all the Amoraim in Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Yochanan says that when the Yidden said nice, said how they call it, were maktim nice lenishma, so they came down 60,000 malachim and gave them one crown. It's not written to it. They gave them one crown. Put one crown on their heads. And then there's another opinion in the name of Rabbi Yochanan that he said even more than that. He said that 120,000 or whatever it was, malachim came down and they gave each Yid one crown. Why would you need all these malachim? The other malach dressed them up very posh. Each malach came down and he dressed up all the Yidden very, very beautifully, and the other malach put a crown on their head. And that's it. Full stop. Rabbi Yochanan doesn't think about what happened when they sinned and they took it away from them. But and by him, the 120,000 malachim, or thousands of the malachim, they were for good, not for bad. There was only one opinion, according to him, and it was an opinion in his words that 120,000 malachim came down just to put a crown on them. But since you're going to be wearing one crown, you've got to be at posh, you've got to be dressed up, how do you call it, royally. So therefore, one malach dressed them up royally, and the other malach put the one crown on their head. So he said it's a very big difference between the Medrash Rabbah. What the Medrash Rabbah is well known, well, that's Torah Eretz Yisrael Mamish. Because Rabbi Yochanan, he was in Eretz Yisrael, and this is Torah Eretz Yisrael. The Medrash Rabbah is all from Chakmei Eretz Yisrael. The Chakmei Bo in the Gemara, we see a different story. There was two Kesarim, but the two Kesarim, Kilo don't seem to fit in with the main statement that it was because they were maktim naisele. Lenishma, and they got one equally from an Isa, one for. Comes along the Marsha over here in the Gemara, and the Marsha says a very interesting thing without explaining himself too much. But he says that the three crowns. But everybody's familiar with the three crowns, aren't you? That there's Kesed Torah, there's Kesed Kahuna, and Kesed Malchus. Who says that? Does anybody know who says that? Hey? Yeah, that's getting away with it easy.
The Rebbe.
Huh?
The Rebbe.
Rebbe? Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, he is the one, he went all that far away, that he says the three crowns. The emphasis, he says, is the fourth crown. And he says, Kesed Shem Tov She'oil al Gabeim. Well, we won't go into that for a moment. That's a big Indian all on its own right. We'll sort of politely, not get too involved with the fourth crown. Kesed, three crowns. So it says the Marsha, you got Kesed Torah, you got Kesed Torah, Kesed Kahuna, and Kesed Malchus. So the Marsha says they got, he said, because of Kesed Torah, they got two other crowns, Kesed Kahuna and Kesed Malchus. That every Yid got one for Kesed Kahuna and he got one for Kesed Malchus. And that's a crown. A crown is a Kesed. So, he says, we come to, every Yid got one for the Kahanim and we got one for the Malchus. He says, it's written by Matan Torah itself, Atem tiyu li mamleches koha Nim. So what is mamleches? A kingship, yeah, a kingdom. And koyanim is koyanim. You will be a mamleches koyanim, yeah, a kingship of priests. So the Mashua says, how did they get that? Because of Keser Torah, because they were Makabel the Torah, or therefore they got these two other crowns, for that they got crowns. And he said that they're two Uid Kesorim, two extra Kesorim. But he doesn't say what is the Keser Torah, and what is it, and how is it, and what's going on with it. But he just said because they received Keser Torah, therefore they got these two other. Which is Keser Kohanim by every person. Everybody can't be a Kohen, not necessarily. And there are certain persons that they are mamish Kohanim, and that's a tremendous milah. Yes, the appearance of the matter is that what is a Kohen? A Kohen is a man that he's devoted to service. He gives away his whole. He's not allowed to even have a nachla, is he? I mean, I see you're very thoughtful towards Avram over there, that you can put your arm around him and so on. Showing a special chibah yisera, Navas Yisrael. That's also Choron to Matan Torah. Anyway, we see that a Kohen is somebody that he's not allowed to have even a part in Eretz Yisrael. He has no nachla or anything. His whole union is only to the one. He might only serve in the Beis Hamikdash once or 2 weeks a year. He doesn't serve. There's so many Kohanim, they made these turns, not everybody. What did he do the rest of the time? He was learning, and he was a poisik. Usually the Kohanim were the ones that decided all the halacha shaylas, and they were learning the whole time all the dinim of Tumah, Tahara. Many of them lived in special cities, the Kohanim, that they should be able to keep themselves tahor and all sorts of tzvas. They claimed that tzvas in the very early times of the first Beis Hamikdash was a ir Kohanim, or at least right alongside it was a big ir.
But it's so far away.
Whereas now it's tzvas.
But it's very far away.
It's
far away from Yerushalayim.
No. Out in tzvas is up in the Galil. It's Homer Elefis there. Tzvas in Yerushalayim. Kommt is that the Kohanim, their union was to serve the Eivester. And even when they weren't busy in the Beis Hamikdash serving, they weren't serving in the Beis Hamikdash, they had to be preparing, and their whole life was devotion to service. That ever a yid, his whole union is to serve, his whole union is to give himself away to serve the Eivester. And that's what the Rebbe wants of Chassidim. You have to see your whole life as a sheirus and a service to the Jewish people. You got a parnasa gesundheit, have a little Beit Chabad in the background or something. Go here, go there, make mivtoim. You've got to be serving, continuously the whole time in your life. Akoy, Adafa, does I malchus, kingship. So everybody's got to be a king. By Yidden, everybody has to be a king. And unfortunately, we have a certain trace of that by Yidden, but everybody thinks he's the Ganser Belabas. And he thinks he's the whole, as everyone said, that everybody wants to be a Menahel, would like to be the manager and the director of the latest project. So, Yidden are quite willing to be a Mamlechus Kohanim. I'm sorry, a from Malchus, a kingdom of kings, of Malchus. However, the Ike Malchus is that you're king over yourself. The Ike is put down in Rosh Chodesh that the Ike kingship is where you're a king over yourself. In other words, a king is somebody that he has complete control. But he brings all the servants, or the subjects, that they also want to be under his control. If he's a good king and a proper king, then all the people in the Medina are devoted to their king, and they want him to be king. And therefore, the whole union from Malach is a Dafki Barotzim, that's brought down. Dafki, the people want the king, then he's an emissary king. And Mamela says that your rule over yourself doesn't have to be forceful, but you should train yourself and you should work on yourself in such a way that your body and your inyonim want to go that way. They want to be makabel on themselves, hidurim, mitzvahs, and to do mitzvahs in the best possible way, and to daven with kavanah, to be called a servant of Hashem and an Elach Yid. You have to rule over yourself in such a way that you're not just, bossing yourself around, but you're, as you know, the famous story of the Rebbe Rashab, that he once mentioned at a certain incident that happened, that his father called him in before Bar Mitzvah, and he said, "No, what is it you would like to ask?" So the Rebbe Rashab said, "I'd like to know what is he supposed to, how's he going to prepare himself for the Bar Mitzvah?" So the Rebbe Marash said to him, "You should learn Shulchan Aruch, Berach Chaim, you should learn the halachas of Shulchan Aruch in such a way that your body will automatically do those things." That even if for some reason, you don't have to be aware at that moment what's going on, but your body will do as they state. It happened the whole mitzvah with the Rebbe Rashab. 2 mitzvahs actually happened, where they asked him why did he do that, and he said because he trained his body to do only that which would be Ratzon Hashem. Two miles. Anyway, we can't go into all of the mises, because if we did, then I'm running short of time tonight, and everybody says they're running short of patience. So we have to sort of skip the mises, but that was the maskana of the mice that the Rebbe Rashab said that he had taught and he ruled over his body, and he said it. He told people that's what's so amazing about it. That he said that he trained his body, that it willingly did, even without him really being always conscious of it. It did automatically what is proper according to the Ratzon of the Eibishter. Yeah, unbelievable. Anyway, I mean that's a Rebbe, but everybody's got to try in some way to approximate to that. There has to be kingship, malchus. Says the Mashur over there, an amazing thing. He says that what does it mean that these things were taken away, these crowns were taken away b'choirev? He said it doesn't mean in Har Sinai. He said the Eibush didn't take away the crowns in Har Sinai. He said the Eibush took them away b'choirev, and the word choirev is a root word of the word churban. Churban means destruction. He said that the Eibush took him away at the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. He said that the Chodesh refers to the Churban. He said the Eibush took away the crowns, and the Mashmois in his Lashon is not clear, but it could be that what he's saying is there were 2 Churbanis, and the first crown was by the first one, and the second crown was by the second one. However, that's the way he learns the Pshat. That they would take, Moshe Rabbeinu got them all. Moshe Rabbeinu in Ruchnias, he was Zeicha, he got all these inyonim, and we have a cloud in the Gemara that Moshe Rabbeinu lo meis, Moshe Rabbeinu is there, and he's serving the Jewish people just like he did always. There's the Gemara Masechta Seita. So there's brought down on Kabbalah that every Erev Shabbos, in the late afternoon, Moshe Rabbeinu literally goes around and he gives each Yid, he gives him part of this crown that was taken away. He gives him and that's the special light that lights up by Yid on Shabbos, and there's a whole big edicts in England and Kabbalah about that. And I found Kumtais that the Marsha said these crowns were taken away. Don't forget the Indian of this man of the Chubim Rachman in Klan. He said, "I take when Mashiach will come." They schreibt Miyad bebias HaMashiach, then we're going to get them back, and then it's going to be in a much greater even than they were earlier. Everybody will be on a tremendously high madrega mitzad these crowns, and he said mitzad kesater. So from that it follows that the Mashur hints at an inyan which would help us a little bit along our way. Dainu, but the Mashur says there's another keser which is not even mavur in the Gemara, and that's keser choirev. And then there's 2 other, he calls them oid kesarim, 2 extra kesarim, what they come, malchus and kahuna, and they become kesarim which the Yidden put on. Now, what that would tend to imply that the Inif and Kesser Torah never got taken away. It was always there, and you never really got a crown for that, and it was never taken away. And if ask yourself, the shy little fees there, where's that fit in? You know, so maybe we could say that what the Mashal is hinting at is the question we had in the Gemara, that there's where's that? You know, it doesn't seem to get anything, because later on it said, no, the 2 crowns are not for Hakdomas, they're for Nais or Nishma on their own. So maybe the Mashal is hinting that there's a Inif, Kesser Torah, and that didn't get a crown, but that's kilo what gave the koyach that you got the other 2 crown. So he hints that nice is like doing positive commandments in the Torah, positive nishma is more like negative commandments and things of that nature. However, Lefi Sekumto is that there's a hint here that there's a higher Kesser that's Kilo wasn't actually mentioned openly with the Malachim and the whole Ariches, but it's there. And that's what gave the power for the other 2 Kesarim to be given. What Lefi said, the Gemara means that there was one Kesser which we don't even seem to mention, that was given, but it's not noticeable. It's something so high that we can't describe the Malachim, because of course the Malachim are only Malachim. Excuse, I hope none of the Malachim will be insulted, God forbid. But they're only Malachim. Yidden are much higher than the Malachim. Therefore there's a Kesser which is really tremendously high. Then the other 2 Kesarim of Malchus and Kahuna, well, that was possible for the Malachim to give it. I'd say it would seem to come out if we study the Mashal. If we study him carefully, there seems to be another sort of a power working here behind the scenes. So if we take a careful look and we think, we go into depth with the whole thing, the way we find it in Mavur, in Chassidus, we tend to find a similar picture which leads us to a very interesting conclusion. And that is that there's different types of giving yourself away to Hashem, different types of what you might call bitul, and different types of what you might call Kabbalah Soil, Malchus Shemayim. For example, every day we say Shema Yisrael Havaya Elokeinu Havaya Echad. So the Gemara says that Shema Yisrael is Kabbalah Soil Malchus Shemayim. Kabbalah Soil Malchus Shemayim. And the first parsha also. V'hoyo im Shemayim Tishmiyu, the second parsha, well, that's Kabbalah's mitzvahs. You take on yourself the Kabbalah to do the mitzvahs. So the Hadikoet, the Gemara says, the Mishnah says in Masechta Brachos, why do we put Shema before V'hoyo im Shemayim? That's the way it is in the Siddur. What am I to blame? Why do we put Shema before V'hoyo im Shemayim? And the truth of the matter is that that's the way it's in the Torah anyway. So the question, why do we put this one before that one, is an interesting sort of question. But nonetheless, the Mishnah does say, well, we won't go to the whole chat in the Mishnah now because we've got to move ahead. The Mishnah says, why do we put Shema before V'hoyo im Shemayim? Maybe what the Mishnah means is, why did the Torah do that? Why did it come out that way? That's it, because you have to be first of all, Kabbalah's oil Malchus Shemayim, and then you have to be Makabel oil, mitzvahs. Then you have to take on yourself all the mitzvahs. So we see from that there's a form of like some sort of Kabbalah in a way of putting one thing before the other. First of all, you have to put oil Malchus Shemayim, and then you take on yourself Kabbalah's oil, mitzvahs. And there's a Sifri over in Pasha in Sefer Dvarim, where the Sifri says Moshel Lamelech Sheniknas LaMedina, and he conquered the Medina, and all the people in the Medina liked this Melech very much. And they said to him, Melech, please be a king over us. And he says, well, I don't know about that. So they said, oh, we want you to be a king over us. So he says, Koidem Kiblu Mal. Oh, and they said, V'tigzer Aleno Gezeres Tevis. Make us good laws and make us good, what do they call it, arbitration. The question was, give over good control of the country. Because, we see you're a capable man. So he said, no, first of all, Kiblu Malchusi. So what did he want with that? He said, okay, I'll take over, and here goes all the gazetas. And he said, no, first of all you have to be makabel my malchus, and then I'll make good law. So, it's the same thing. Why do we put Shema before V'hoim Shema? Kabbalah Sel Malchus Shemayim, and then Kabbalah Sel. So Chassidus explains that Kabbalah Sel Malchus Shemayim means a more cloristic thing. You take on yourself the Malchus of the Eibush and you give yourself away without even understanding the mitzvahs and so on. But you give yourself away to Ratzon Hashem, as it is in the Torah and in the mitzvahs. And particularly, Moshe, in the Chukim, all the mitzvahs we don't understand. And then there's the Inyan, Kabbalah Sel mitzvah, where you take on yourself in each mitzvah, what you might call its particular in it, and you devote yourself to that mitzvah, and you give yourself away to it with all the koch, and because you were makabel b'klal malchus shemayim, that gives you a chayas in all the mitzvahs and a commitment to them. Sure, looks a pretty good picture, and that's based on the Mishnah, based on the Sifri. So comes along the Rebbe, in many of his Maimon, the Rebbe Melech Moshiach, and the Rebbe said that's all tremendous, but why is it that there's this hint in the Gemara, like we saw to like a third Indian of Hakdomas Naisel. So he said, if you come along and say that you could say, go through a Seder, be a very Masudadik mensch, first of all, take on Kabbalah Sel mitzvah, devote yourself to all the mitzvahs, find out about them, be a very good, devoted person to all the different mitzvahs that you meet up with, and then you go higher and you will take on yourself a Kabbalah Klolius on all the Inyanim and all the mitzvahs, and you go, how do you call it, Milmatala. So therefore, says the Rebbe, that we have to say that there's a further Inyan, that you give yourself away to the Eibishter completely in such a way that both Naisa and Nishma, they all become like one Inyan, completely. And then if you're given away in such a way, and you're devoted completely in such a way, then whatever you do in Naisa and Nishma will be like very elevated. In other words, you'll be unlimited both in your Kabbalah Sel Kloliyas and in your Kabbalah Sel Pratias to all the different mitzvahs. You'll be a different person altogether. So he said, what is that? Well, that is what he calls over there Kabbalah's oil Lebal Harotz. To the Eibishter, before he ever told you what he really didn't tell you klal, you don't have the faintest idea what you're really going to be told. Now when you think about it, that's what happened at Matan Torah. And the whole idea from Hakdomas Naisel Nishma is we make a big thing out of it. Over the Yidden at that time, they didn't know what the Eivah was going to tell them. They had no idea. I mean, some of the people who had been in Mitzrayim had been learning Torah in Ruchnias, they'd been learning Torah like the Oveis, and they had asogas in Elikus, which were somewhat appropriate to the Torah. Over Tanora were going to be 620 mitzvahs, and it's going to be with all the chumas and all the inyanim and all the things that Hashem was about to demand. Nobody knew. And therefore, when the Yidden said, nice, we will do everything, and afterwards we will listen. That is the most amazing, how do you call it, act or jump on the part of Yidden, that's kilo a Mesilas Nefesh clearly is that you just don't know what you're facing. And yet nonetheless you say, yeah, I'm putting the Nizer before the Nishma altogether. So the Alter Rebbe is the Lashon, what the Alter Rebbe said in Lakutei Torah. In one part he writes a very bekitzer, the Alter Rebbe, and he said, what would you have done if the Eibusher would have commanded you for the rest of your life, you have to chop wood and draw water? For all the generations to come, all Yidden fathers and children and grandfathers and Eniklat and Babbas and everybody, all people would have to do is chop wood and schlep water. The rest of time to come, what would you have done? What would you have done? You would have said, wait a minute. So the Yidden didn't. The Yidden said, the Alter Rebbe says, that when the Yidden were makdim Nizer l'nishma, they gave away Nizer before, they said Nizer before Nishma, then they said, Afila, you will tell me to chop wood for the rest of the generations, here we are. And Afila, you'll tell us to schlep patzer for all the generations to come, here we are. To our great fortune, the Eivusher doesn't sit in a sukkah, put on tefillin. The Eivusher had tremendous rahmanas that he was malvish the whole task in very beautiful inyanim. But that's what could have been. And as far as the Alter Rebbe, there's a point where you give yourself away directly to the Eivusher, how he's in charge of his rotzen. In other words, Chassidus says that the Eivusher doesn't really have a will. What does it say? He has a will. If you make him have a will, you limit him in some way. The Eivusher makes a will, and he can make that will any way that he wants it, and he's in charge of the rotten. He's a Baal Harotzon. He's in charge of the will. And what the Yidden did at Mount Torah, Nizer l'nishma, they said, we're bottled to you that way, Eivusher. Whatever you will say goes. Absolutely. Please, etzem hanefesh, and please, mesiras nefesh, please, all inyanim, we are yours. But, oh, by the way, what is it you really want to tell us? That was the union of Yidden at Mount Torah. In other words, after they'd said that, then they said, maybe you should tell us right now what you're going to say. As far as the feet say, that there's an inyan in Hakdomas Nizer l'nishma, which is immense. I mean, it's a complete and utter giving of itself away. It's even higher than mesiras nefesh. It's just, I'm just not here. I'm just a screw. You'll screw me in however you want. For whatever inyanim you want. Nisava HaKadosh Baruch Hu Li Yisrael Dira B'Taktorim. So the Alter Rebbe said, the Eivusher had a taiva. If a taiva is kein kashia, you can't ask a question, why does a person have a taiva? I mean, you should ask yourself questions to try and stop it. But why you have the taiva, this is a kashia. And in fact, the Alter Rebbe says that we don't have the faintest idea. All we know is that after Matan Torah, how he said he wants to make that deer and how he wants to do it, that we know. Of why and from who, we don't know. I say, why do we have so much chayas? And what's given to our brand? We gave ourselves away completely to him, absolutely. Bli shum havona v'asoga, bli klum shebeklum. And this is Hakdomas Nizer l'nishma. I was saying, if you do that, then you get a kesser for Nizer and for Nishma. Then when you do have Kabbalah sale for the mitzvahs, for example, so then you're given a crown for that. When you have more specific Kabbalah sale and you want to understand a bit, you understand differently. You want to understand like they call it a balabuas. Like it was a proster balabas. us, but you'll understand with the pneumias and with the devotion, it'll all be, how do you call it, percolated, it'll all be soaken up with the fact that you've been bottled completely and utterly at the beginning of the whole thing. So the Pharaoh comes again the river, and he said that's why they didn't get a kesser for Hagdomas Nizela. And we could suggest that that's what the Mashur calls kesser Torah. He said, well, you don't get a kesser. Faguas, it's so high and it's so unbelievable they can't even get a kesser. It's too high even to give you a kesser. And therefore he says an amazing thing that when a king puts on a kesser, it's higher than him. It's a makif. Yeah, it's like Rotzen, it's a makif, but it fits under the head. It's got a certain relation to the cup of the person, of the king. And if it's an amazing halacha that the Gemara brings, the Gemara brings that kings of Beis David, the Malchi Beis David, all the people who were kings after Beis David, they wore his crown, and his crown had to fit their head. And if it didn't, they were cancelled as being king. All the people who became kings of Yidden after David HaMelech, and they were from his generations, the Eibishter made it a nest that the crown fitted on their head. No matter what the particular size of hat they may have worn, but the crown fitted their head. It's an amazing thing. So we see Lefizeh that the crown is according to the midah of your rod. In other words, it's got some sort of kesher with limitation, or with something which is beyond limitation, and something which is just completely and utterly given away absolutely. He said that's a kesher, but they can't give you a kesher for that. It's just too high. Oh, but it is a kesher, and it's what makes the other two kesarim into kesarim. Lefizeh, it's fine. That maybe we could suggest, and it's possible, I haven't seen that yet in Sfarim, but it seems to me that that's what the Medrash Rabbah, which is Torah Eretz Yisrael, maybe that's hinting that it talks something about one kesser. And it says when the Yidden were Maktim, Naisel and Nishma, they got one kesser. It doesn't mention the other two ksharim, and it doesn't mention that they were taken away, that the kesser was taken away. It's not mentioned that it was taken in the Medrash Torah. And it's written, according to one opinion, that you had 120,000 thousands of these malachim that came down just to dress them up and put that one kesser on, which means that the 120,000 of the malachim, they were all only for the good, they were only for the positive. And here in the Gemara we see that these 121, they came down to do the negative thing, and therefore Tesis immediately asks, midah ra seems to be more than midah toiva. And therefore we see that according to the Medrash Rabbah, there's one kesser, and it's not mentioned clearly in the Medrash. They were all taken away, and it was all lost, and the Moshe Rabbeinu got it, and the Duas, what it was, Barachot and Beis HaMelech, with the Mashogas and all that. They said, maybe the Medrash Rabbah is hinting at that, how do you call it, unreal kesser. It's not able to be shaped. It's so high. It's so completely and utterly how a Yid is bottled telekus altogether that can't be given to you openly. But it makes the other kesarim meaningful, and it means that the way you are devoted to your mitzvahs, both in general and in detail, that is a kesser. In other words, that even the way you understand mitzvahs, and the way you learn about them in the Sfarim, well, you learn them in a way that you're completely devoted to Hashem, and you won't make all sorts of ideas and all sorts of spitzelach and svarishlach, and you won't run around saying that even from a Yidden can say that you can give back Yerushalayim to Goyim. Hashem Yirachem. Because you will know that you are devoted only to the Eibishter. and you're devoted only, therefore your mind will think only in a way which is absolute devotion to the Eibishter. If you couldn't possibly be dressed up like a Fruma Yid and put up your hand in the so-called Knesset, and say that, oh yes, I don't want to take you back, Yerusha. Right? You couldn't do that. You just wouldn't be able to do that because you're aware of this Kesser which is beyond all limitation, and that throws beyond limitation and devotion to the Torah, even where you're nishma, even where you're beginning to appreciate the mitzvahs. And to understand them and to see what's going on. And if I come to that's an amazing picture. And that's a picture what the Rebbe, Melech HaMashiach, gives us in some of his Maimorim. So just in order to complete the union, I just want to mention very briefly that there's a drush from the Rebbe Marash in one of the years of his Nasiyas, where he brings down this whole Hina, and he bases himself on a certain Maimorim from the Rebbe Dr. Tzedek and from the Mittler Rebbe. So it's not, how do you call it, the main building of the Maimah is not original in the sense that those inyonim are mentioned in the previous Rebbe, but it's one that each Rebbe added something, and each Rebbe had some special inyan. And there's always special diuchim that come out in each of the Rebbe. So the Rebbe Marash says over there a most amazing thing. And he says that the inyan for Naisa v'nishma rotzoi v'shoiv. That's what he says. Rotzoi v'shoiv. You've heard of the expression rotzoi v'shoiv. You guys ever heard of that? What rotzoi means to run out, or to go outwards and upwards. Shoiv means to turn downwards. And it's based on the famous, that's the Haftarah of Chag HaShavuot from Yechezkel Hanavi, where he says, "V'hachayos rotzoi v'shoiv," that he saw the angels in his vision, famous vision of Yechezkel Hanavi, and he saw that they run upwards and then they come sort of down again. And Rashi brings the whole thing that they push their heads up beyond the rakia, which separates them from much higher, and then they're not able to take that, and they sort of come back again. Rotzoi v'shoiv. So Chassidus says that Rotzoi is where you want to go out from all the limitations. You want to go up to the Eivishter and you leave everything behind. Like the Bnei Aaron, the two Bnei Aaron did. They just couldn't take it anymore. They just completely out, and they just went up into Hashem. Shoiv is where you say, wait a minute, what am I doing up here? I got to do the Eibishter's will. What's the Eibishter really want? He wants us to be down here. We have to be time to the mitzvahs in this world. We got to do the Eibishter's will. Dira b'tach, b'tach toinim, and that's the two inyanim of rotzoi v'shoiv. So he says that Naisa is rotzoi, and shoiv is nishma. So he says when the Yidden were at Matan Torah, and they said Naisa, they went out of their kelim order. They didn't know, like we just said. They didn't know what they were going to be told to do. So the very fact that Yidden just said, oh, we are Mekabel, that's a form of rota. It's a very new word, a new idea. It's like a tremendous enthusiasm, just giving, wanting only to be with the Eivishter. You can't care about anything. Whatever he will say, I'll just be with him. I can't be care about anything else. Or Nishma says, wait a minute, we got to listen, not to what I want. Ultimately speaking, nice from taste a little bit of your own, what you might call your own taste in it, in a very, very tremendously divine way, but your own taste. Mashakin Nishma, the way say, I got to hear what the Eibishter wants. What is the ultimate will? What is the ultimate rotzon? Yes, we've got to be down here, and we've got to keep the rotzon down here. Says the Marash, however, in order to be miyached Naisa v'nishma, and in order to have a zamitzot Naisa like that, it actually comes from a very, very high madrig, even higher than what the Naisa imagines that it wants to go to. In other words, that the Rebbe Marash is hinting to this whole thing that we said, well, there's like a third madrig. There's a madrega which is so high that you can't describe it and you can't give it a kesser. It doesn't have a kesser because it's just so tremendously high. But it really is a kesser. It's a tremendous kesser. like the Medrash Rabbah talks all about wine kesser, very, very special wine, and that gives the power for them to be nicer, and the nicer will eventually bring to Nishma. Because what happened to the Bnei Aaron? They went out and they never had a coat. They couldn't come back down. They want to come back down. This Madrega gives you the ability to have this unbelievable nice and say, Avish, I'm ready for anything you say, anything you want. And it gives you the ability to come back down and say, no, I want to be in the world, and I want to do things the way the Avish said. It's not going to be so easy and comfortable. I'm going to have to, stray around in all and have to do with it and fight it. And what can we do? He throws in one word at the end of the line of the Rebbe Maran. Why would it be like that? He said, why would you have a nice before Nishma? Just make people Nishmatikas, make them right from the beginning. The Rebbe says, when it mentions in a nicer, of any form of nicer, any form of rotzoi, there's a different idea. If he's in a rotzoi, he has simcha Ishmak, because he's looking for what he would, in a very, very divine way, but he's happy. He says we're going to the Eivishter, and that's what he would really like to do. And if he feels simcha v'tuv, the Eivishter wanted in the Nishma and in the Kabbalah Sel part of it, and being in Lamata in this world, we should nonetheless have Yivdu es Hashem b'simcha. And Cholila v'chas, if you don't serve the Eivishter b'simcha, then there's, the Eivishter is not pleased about that. Tachas Hashalei avadet Hashem rakecha b'simcha v'tov lei. It's an amazing idea that the reason why it was nicer before Nishma was to give simcha v'tov lei. But it was such a high madriga that it binds both of them together and makes you have your simcha in the right direction. Hashem should help us that we realize what's going on and what is the inyan from Kabbalah Satira and what does it mean. There's this hidden kesser, and that's what's hidden in the Gemara and in the Medrash. There's this hidden kesser that we don't really see it. We're not really, but this is Jicha, that when Mashiach will come take it from Yad, that we will have it. This is Jicha, Rishum Sofik Ba'ilom, that the Eivishter will give us that kesser, and he'll also give us the other two kesarim. We'll have the other two, kesser Malchus and kesser Kahuna, Metiala Gute Sachen. And some people say, they come up to you and they say, what's all this business, this Mashiach business, and why are you cocking and why are you talking and all these, So you got to realize that the Rebbe, go back to the beginning of the class, the Alter Rebbe says that to elevate your will into a higher will, you got to have Moshe Rabbeinu's got to do it. He's got to count you. He's got to lift up your head. So who is it that said all these things? It's not the Hasidim. It's not a few crazy guys also got into their head that Mashiach is coming and they got to shrei ad Masa and they got to say Yechia Melech and all that. The Hasidim didn't say that. The Rebbe said it. There's a famous Sikha from Beis Nissen, Toshim Mimches, where the Rebbe said you have to say Yechia Melech. It's a state in the Sikha. But with the Rebbe's Marim Akayim. And so, come to this, you got to realize, pink to say we have Kabbalah Sel, Malchus, and you have even higher than that. You have the sin of complete devotion, and that's what we got to have with the Rebbe. We got to stop making cheshbonos and saying, what's people going to say, and we just did in my room before we had a horrible example. Somebody poked some fun. But we won't go into what it was. It upset me very deeply. I don't know. I find it very hard to take those things. But anyway, we can't be this poor from these Inanim because it's not us. It's the Rebbe. It's not people saying, "Listen, Mashiach is coming in a second. You got to bring Mashiach. You got to say Ad Masai with the other." I was there, and I saw the Rebbe say Ad Masai. And if you would have seen it, you would never be able to forget it. You would just never be able to. The Rebbe said Ad Masai with the something unbelievable. Bread was distracted. It's not us. It's not we are making this whole tremendous publicity about Mashiach. Edify. We could have, what the Marshal calls Kesser Torah, or what we call this Higdimun Isolation. We've got to go into a world of absolute simplicity of devotion. We can't make cheshbonos. Then you come down into the realm. You got to have, first of all, Dom is nice, and then Hashem helps you, and Hashem blesses you. You get a certain kesser which is very, very elevated, very, very elevated. I'm not trying to make out that Pliny has the kesser and other people don't. We all got it. We all got the possibility of getting to it. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to be makdim nice and l'nishma. We can't say, there's a Baruch Hashem, the Rebbe says you got to shrei Moshiach. He didn't say you got to shrei, carry water and chop wood. He shreis Moshiach. He shreis the finality of the whole bria. The Alter Rebbe says in Tanya that is the tachlis of the whole creation. In Perek Lamed Vav. So Hashem should help us that we should prepare for Matan Torah Be'ez Hashem, and it should be in a good noiven, a simchatik noiven, like the Rebbe Marash says. It should be more like simcha v'tul levav, and that's what the Rebbe says. Kabbalah Satira v'simcha b'pinimiyas, and in Mirz Hashem, you guys are going to be going hopefully with Melech HaMashiach already. On Monday, the Moshe Sperling is organizing a Farbringen and everything in Yerushalayim. So Yehi Ratzon, the Mashiach should be waiting for you already in Yerushalayim. And the worst possibility will be that when you're in the middle of the Farbringen, you all of a sudden hear, the base of Mitzvah is coming down from heaven, let's get cracking, and everybody will be out, and we'll all be Mekabel, Kabbalah Satira, Yerushalayim, together with the Rebbe in the base of Mitzvah HaShlishi.